This is the Google 1-month overview reading for the month of August 2023. It's currently June 28th, 2023, 8:36 p.m. Eastern Time. Google, at the time of this reading, is currently in the extended hours $121.30. That's USD. And the shuffle file for the Google August reading was created on May 21st, 2023 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time. That's this video right here. So the overall theme and behavior for the day, for the month, we have a halting of a bullish trend marked by a sharp decline through key support. That's key support on the scale of a multi-year chart. It's crossed with sideways rotation along key support on a multi-year scale, which is like an attempt to establish support. So I think what we do is we go from like a rally into a sharp drop that then starts to cool off but still goes lower, and then we see sideways rotation along key support as we move through like the lows in the end of the month. The behavior around the highest high, there's a significant trade opportunity at the high. So like this is a cash out opportunity on a multi-day kind of scale, most likely. Behavior around the lowest low, there's a trade opportunity there. It could be utilized as a price level, in which we have a good mean price level between a notable move higher and a notable move lower, like over several days of time. You could basically position yourself in both directions, not at the same time like classic traders would put on a straddle or strangle. You're actually able to put it on a leg at a time, is what they call it, because there's enough price movement around the low that'll allow for us to do that. Before we go any further, let's take a look and see how we're doing for the 2023 reading thus far. So first thing I noticed is that we had a highest high over here as one of the locations most likely to have a highest high. It looks like it didn't end up being a highest high, but it did end up being a really notable high on a 1-year scale. I think that's pretty solid aside from it not being a highest high. We do have higher probable locations here in August, September as well, so it's not like this is totally off base. That's a really notable high. And then we have lowest low in February and lowest low on the cusp of March, April, and it looks like we're you have to give it about 2 weeks wiggle room, but the sequence of events is pretty solid. We have a lowest low here in February, March, right? So here in February, and then there's another lowest low, ends up being in March, rather than in April, a little earlier, but it's a double lowest low there, you can see. And so then what we're seeing is new highs forming. In June, we have a prominent crest or peak that forms, and you can see that is a prominent crest or peak formed in June. What we should see based on that is like a breakout here at the very end of the month to the upside on a multi-day kind of scale, and we should lead into a highest high there in August, September. So this is looking pretty solid. Princess of Discs, cash out opportunity at a highest high there. It looks like it's early in the month, and you can see what do we have? Ace of Discs, which is almost the exact same energy as the Princess of Discs. So this 1 year is really solid, guys. The 1 year was done October 10th, 2022 at 2:02 p.m. Eastern Time. Guys, this is one of the services if you're interested in getting like a specific ticker or crypto covered on our channel. The fastest way to do that is to go to our services, SO Meta Posts right here. Scroll down to the 1 year report. This is where you can put in any, well, if I was logged in, you could put in any ticker or crypto and specify the year. That'll be the order, and we'll take within like a 2-week period, you get a 1 year report for whichever year you ordered of that ticker. Doesn't matter what the ticker is, doesn't matter what the crypto is, doesn't matter what the year is. You can even do ones that happened already. Like, it doesn't matter if you want to test it out. The point is that it's a great way to get your ticker covered quickly. It's also a really great way to support the channel. So thank you to those of you that go ahead and do that. With that said, let's get into the day-by-day chart behavior. So first off, it looks like there's a highest high on the 3rd. It could be the 4th, could be the 5th, but I think probably on the 3rd we have a highest high there. On the 4th, really, we have this brief peak that's easily missed, followed by a breakdown through key support on a multi-day kind of scale, right? So that's probably where we have this halting of a bullish trend marked by a sharp decline. And this looks like pretty sharp decline. We have the failure card, we have the indolence card, we've got the debauch card. Those are all serious moves to the, and even here, I think we probably gap up on the 3rd. But even here, this is a pretty significant downward card, the universe card. So this is where that sharp drop takes place on a multi-day kind of scale, and then it cools off around the 8th, but continues to go lower until we're hitting lowest lows around the 21st and the 24th, 25th. And this is where we should see sideways behavior back and forth, probably bumping up against the key resistance as well as bumping along key support on a multi-day scale. On the 1st, we have opportunity there. There's a notable opportunity to position oneself in both directions. A lot of price change covered around an important resistance level. We have the halting of a bullish trend there, key support level there, right on the cusp of the 1st, 2nd. Gap up on the 2nd, and then have another decline, notable decline there to another important trough on a 1 month kind of scale. On the 3rd, probably another gap up there. This is where we likely have a sharp decline to a trough towards the cusp of the 3rd, 4th. And then there's a brief peak that's easily missed on the 4th, followed by more significant decline. Now be careful, this could be the highest high here on the 3rd with just straight decline off of the 3rd, or we could like gap up or move higher again and then revisit a high there or have a higher high there on the 4th. It's hard to determine exactly where it is. There's a notable trade opportunity on the 4th as well, which we'll talk about in a lot more detail in the paid version. On the 7th, we have decline to and through support. We bounce along support and then we continue declining through multiple support, and there's a lot of price change to the downside covered there on the 7th. On the 8th, we have bumping along multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, and we have a prominent crest that forms after all that decline. On the 9th, there's a trade opportunity early in the day at a trough, and then there's a rally to meet a key resistance on a multi-day scale that we then break down from with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down. It's possible that that rally continues into the 10th, and then we break down from there because we have this prominent crest or peak here on the 10th, which is a significant trade opportunity as well on a multi-day scale. We decline pretty notably from that peak. The decline increases with momentum moving forward throughout the day of the 11th. On the 14th, we have a significant move higher on a multi-day scale. We successfully turn resistance into new support resistance again on a multi-day kind of scale. There's a trade opportunity there we'll talk about in more detail in the paid version, and then there's a lot of price change it looks like on the 15th. We probably gap down from the 14th into the 15th, and then there's a rally along a diagonal trend line, breaking through horizontal resistance to meet a secondary resistance before pulling back to somewhere between those two price levels with a crest or a big pop to the upside right around the cusp of the 15th and the 16th. But then the 16th turns into a pretty notable decline, followed by pretty notable decline on the 16th into the 17th. On the 17th, it's hard to determine if we're bullish or bearish on the 17th. Sorry guys, it's kind of mixed. We have like this decline to and through support to meet a secondary support, and we rotate sideways along that support for a bit, but there's also a rally that commences here early in the day on the 17th, and a peak or crest that we sell off from like a key resistance on a multi-day scale there on the 18th that we sell off from pretty notably, standing out and taking us into a low on the 21st. It's most likely where we have a lowest low there on the 21st in a period of sideways rotation. On the 22nd, there's a move to the upside after meeting key support level, important on a 1 month kind of scale, at least probably a 1 year kind of scale. There's a cash out opportunity in there and probably a day trade in there on the 22nd, which I'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. On the 23rd, there's a peak or crest late in the day, and it looks like we sell off from like a near overbought peak or crest pretty notably into a trough there. It's kind of like a fake out to the upside on the 23rd. We sell from like that peak or crest that's like either midday on the 23rd or on the cusp of the 23rd, 24th, and we sell pretty notably, but then there's a breakout as well, so a notable move out of like some selling and out of a trough that we see here. Not a lowest low, but a trough most likely, and we move to the upside there on the 24th, followed by more decline or gap down on the 25th, taking us to where we probably see a lowest low again. This decline on the 25th ends with a fast sudden move higher, taking us to a peak or crest at the end of the day. On the 28th, we sell from a near overbought peak or crest, notably the halting of a bullish trend there marked by a decline through multiple support levels, taking us to another trough. We could be rotating sideways here as well. It's possible along lows. I think we probably rally here and then possibly come back to revisit a low here, based on that being a queen of discs, which is often the revisiting of an important support level. Matter of fact, so is the Hermit card, is a decline to revisit a support level that was recently revisited, and then we revisit a support level on the 30th in a period of sideways rotation. There's a sharp drop in that period of sideways rotation. Notable drop on the 31st. There's a little bit of a rally out of the lowest low that we probably see on the 30th. There's a little bit of a rally around the cusp or towards the end of the day on the 30th, and then a drop from a peak or crest on the 31st to another support level, or out of a support level. There's a big move to the upside with a lot of like jagged like back and forth behavior on the way up throughout the day of the 31st. Sneak preview for the following month of September. We have an important crest or peak there. I'm going to take a look at the 1 year in just a sec. But overall, we're looking for 3 crisscrosses back and forth into the same price level, confirming a bullish trend. When we look at the 1 year, we very likely have a highest high again there in September. So be on the lookout for that. And with that said, guys, we're going to get into the best trades that I see for the month. If you're interested in the paid version where we talk about the best trades that we see and the entry and exit, what to look for as far as chart patterns, a great way to support the channel is by subscribing. Okay, guys, I'm going to get into the best trades that I see for the month. Basically, everything past this point in the video is an example of what you would get if you signed up for SOMeta posts where you can subscribe to any of these monthly subscriptions. Any of these are available as subscriptions. If you plan on utilizing them monthly, it's really the right thing to do. But what we're going to talk about moving forward in this video from this point forward is like an example of what you would get only in a paid version normally. We're going to give it away for free this time. And with that said, make sure to follow the rule of karma. This is a lifetime of hardship and trial and error to figure out how to do this. We're giving it away for free, the only place on the planet that knows how to do this, guys. Check out our resources tab. This is where we ask that you donate 5% of the profits forward to one of these charities and 5% of the profits back to the channel here. That leaves you at 90% of the profits. Make sure to spend that money out of love, and the universe is going to send it back to you tenfold through this channel, my friends. Stay tuned. We're going to get into those trades. Okay, guys, so this is what we look at. We look at it from different time frames. There's the multi-year where there's a high here. Looks like it probably is in 2023, 2024 on that cusp, or in 2024. There's a high there and a cash out opportunity. So we definitely want to make sure that we've taken advantage of this dip here. But you can see this was the sharp dip that we had on a multi-year scale with a reversal taking us into highs, right? So a rally that takes us into highs. I think probably by August, we're going to be up in the price level. We'll be around this price level, like the 140s, it looks like, in August. And it doesn't look like it's a highest high. It looks like we're dealing with resistance, a key technical price level on like at least a 1 year scale, on like a multi-years kind of scale, key technical price level at the high, and then a failed attempt to break through key resistance at the high that we have here in September. But I think it's probably going to be around like the 140 range. For August, you definitely want to cash out at these highs based on the Princess of Discs. It's also the Ace of Discs for the high here in August. So definitely want to cash out at these highs. And my sense is the best day to do that. It's hard to determine if it's the third or fourth. Basically what we're looking for is a brief peak that's easily missed, that forms from a rally that takes place after a decline through multiple support levels that takes place around the second third. The decline that takes place around the second third is prior to like a rally into a brief peak and a decline through multiple support levels. And it's that brief peak that we'd want to exit. We definitely want to get into a short position there for like a multi-day swing trade. Another possible location where we might want to get out, but I think it's probably waiting too long, is the 10th. There might be a significant move higher here, but it would be prudent to get out here on the 3rd, 4th in the midst of that brief peak that's easily missed. If you miss that, then I'd say probably wait until the 10th, and that would be cashing out from a multi-year kind of scale. You could open up a short position for a multi-day trade, and you would close that short position most likely on the cusp of the 24th, 25th. You'll know what price level to exit because we'll have seen a low here, or around the 21st, we'll have seen a lowest low or close to a lowest low. Utilize around that same price level as an exit for this multi-day short. If we chose to hold it that long, it might make better sense to short on the 3rd and close out on the 4th at the end of the day for a quick short, which is probably a better bet. You could get into another long position in anticipation of another high where we have a failed attempt to break through key resistance, right? So there's a halting of a bullish trend marked by a sharp decline there through key support in early September. But then out of a decline, there's a move from the bottom of a range all the way to the top of a range, and most likely another highest high there. So we know where to exit. If we open up a short position at a low in August, we have a good idea of where to exit price level wise in September. Kind of like a short-term swing trade. We already talked about that short on the 3rd, 4th. So in the midst of a notable decline on the 7th, it would form after a peak on a one-day chart, a scale of peak that'll stand out. There'll be a sharp decline on the 7th, and in the midst of that decline, you could open up a long position. It's against the overall trend direction of the month, so I hesitate to talk about these, but sometimes people really want to go for a bullish in the midst of a bearish kind of overall trend. So if I was looking for a bullish swing, I'd probably do it in the midst of that decline, and then I'd close it after multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance around the 8th. There's a cash out opportunity when we rally into key resistance on the 9th, cash out at key resistance before we have a decline with consecutively lower spikes up on the way down. You could open up a short position on the 10th, close it on the 11th, open up towards the earlier part of the day, maybe like late morning when we have a prominent move higher sitting out on a 1-day chart. After establishing support, there's a prominent move higher on a 1-day chart, and then more sideways rotation at higher support. That higher support sideways rotation is where I would open the short. I close the short on the 11th in the midst of a decline that increases with momentum moving forward in time, and that decline forms after a brief peak that's easily missed on a 1-day kind of scale. There's a sharp decline into a low. Be careful though, out of the low on a 1-day scale, there's a notable move higher, so you want to get out of that post haste. Okay, so you could do a swing trade where we'd be doing like a pop and drop off of a low here on the 14th. We'd see a pop and drop. So whenever we see, if we see a low for the day, like on a 1-day chart, and then there's a big move higher and then a retracement, and we come back to a low, that would be like a signal to enter into a long position and hold that long position. It would be in like the midst of some sideways rotation or like a holding pattern on a 1-day scale. There'll be like this pop and drop, right? So if you see that, open up the long position, hold the long position until the end of the day on the 15th in the midst of a fast sudden move higher towards the end of the day. You could close out of that. We'd be doing some sideways rotation there as well on a 1-day kind of scale near the high. You could also just make a day trade of it on the 15th, early in the day, open up a long position, but I don't really have a lot of info as far as where to open it. Possibly look like in the midst of a peak that then turns into a sell-off. You could open up a long position for a day trade and then close it at the end of the day there too. If we have a prominent peak here on the 22nd, there's a short day trade in here. If we find a prominent peak here on the 16th, so it'll stand out after a lowest low, there'd be some sideways rotational near that peak on a 1-day kind of scale. Sideways rotation, I would utilize that as entry for a short position. That peak would then turn into a notable decline on a 1-day scale, and we would cash out of that at the end of the day. A prominent trough, not a lowest low per se, but a prominent trough. And there's a fast sudden move higher at the end of the decline on the 25th. Fast sudden move higher creates a peak or crest. Don't chase that fast sudden move higher. Instead, you should position yourself for a short position. You can either do it there on the 25th if you see that fast sudden move higher. If you don't see that fast sudden move higher at the end of a decline there on the 25th, I'd say wait until the 28th and open the position near overbought territory on a multi-day chart kind of scale at a peak or crest. I would utilize that as an open for a short, and then you could close that short the following day in a period of sideways rotation when we revisit a support level that we recently met once before. So probably on the 25th, it would be a period of sideways rotation on a 1-day chart, but be careful because that sideways rotation does end with a fast sudden move higher on a 1-day scale. Those are the best trades that I see for the month of August. Guys, let me know how you do. I'd love to hear stories of people making money with this information. It took me my whole life to figure it out. A lot of hardship, a lot of disappointment, and then eureka, it started working. So with that said, make sure to follow the rule of karma, guys. You do so here on the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders. 5% of the profits should be donated back to the channel. That guarantees that you have gratitude mentality necessary for proper manifestation. And then 5% of the profits should be donated forward to one of these charities that guarantees abundance mentality, also necessary for proper manifestation. Make sure to keep that conscience clear and spend that 90% left over out of love. As long as you do that, follow those rules, the universe is going to send it back to you tenfold through this channel, my friends. I'll see you guys on the next one. Blessings.